All right, so let's get some listener questions. Had some good ones. Thank you guys for putting these in. I'll answer as many as I can here. Somewhat rapid fire. What would be some reasons a former first-round pick like offensive tackle Andre Dillard can't seem to be successful? Well, a couple things. Obviously, did the personnel guys get it right? Is he worthy of a first-round draft pick? Now, obviously, in retrospect, it's easy for us to make that judgment. But when you're in that moment, like, what were they excited about? Were they excited about his footwork, his size? What was it about the trend in tackles at that point where they were saying, if this is exactly the kind of guy we want? You think about, I'm lucky enough to sit in on a really interesting coaching discussion with NFL coaches and some other guys on Fridays during the offseason. Somebody was talking about how many failures there are, like failures as far as what their criteria means is a little bit, we'll get a little bit into the weeds, it's esoteric, but how many guys don't pan out in the first round? I think it's over 50%. So, a lot of these guys that are can't miss, or these prospects that make a ton of sense, aren't necessarily going to be what you want. And I think teams should, honestly, teams should probably blow up their playbook as far as what they're doing to scout players, and stop trying to add a personality test, add an IQ test, add the AIQ. Like, stop trying to add stuff and really take a fundamental look at what it is we're trying to grade out. Because if, for example, if I'm watching him in college and I'm just saying, let's watch Penei Sewell is an easy one. Penei Sewell was an absolute unit in college, right? Now, his technique was good for college, not great. But his athleticism and the approach he had to the game, the consistent approach and intensity, you kind of knew that with the right coaching, like, he could be something, right? Now, on the other hand, Rashawn Slater that year, who was for me, surefire best guy. Okay, he's had some injuries since, but his first year, he's like second team All-Pro or something. He was a combination of athleticism, strength, and just phenomenal technique, even in college, where you say, this is a guy that can come in and whoever's coaching him, just don't screw him up. Okay, so when they're looking at these guys, I don't know if we always play into, in other words, Penei Sewell, if he doesn't go to the Detroit Lions, who have Hank Fraley as a line coach who's a phenomenal former player, phenomenal coach, is he the same guy? Just because from a development standpoint, is he where he's at technically now? So you have to, there's other factors than just like, oh, I like how he looks in the Underwear Olympics. Oh, he gave me some canned responses. I know they're like, I'm not trying to minimize the job. I'm just saying maybe they need to rethink how they're doing everything. So that's one. And then I think I just said that too. Where you go matters. The development matters. If you haven't had good coaching in the National Football League, where there's not a lot of good coaching, surprisingly, as far as detailed technical footwork, etc., like how your hand, your body position profile, everything. If you're not getting that, then you can fail. And we know that in Tennessee in particular, that they don't have a great track record over the last couple of years of putting out really good linemen. It says, as a lineman, you see A.J. Dillon's poor performance as a failure of the line to make a lane. Dillon or both? Yeah, yes. I always go back to it. Aaron Jones makes plays where maybe A.J. can't. We might say the same thing about Josh Jacobs. This offensive line needs to get more physical, more interested in finishing. I don't think you could take anything from this preseason game. If people have been at camp, and for everything I've heard, he's been playing phenomenal at camp. So let's wait and see. In the same vein, is Emmanuel Wilson legit, or is it preseason hype? Well, everything's preseason hype right now. Everything's preseason hype. It's a whole different game when you've got, Myles Garrett and company, one of the top 2 or 3 defenses in the league, playing against you in the run game. That interior offense, I'm really interested to see how our interior offensive line performs this year. I think if they perform well, and it really comes down to the center and right guard, we know what we're going to get out of Jenkins. That the center and right guard going to be the kind of guys that we don't have to, like, Matt LaFleur doesn't have to coach around. He can just call the plays that he wants to play because he wants to call, because he believes those guys can get the job done. How did our run fits change in nickel from Joe Barry's scheme to Hafley's, and from your eye with a linebacker play be sufficient enough for it? So who is coaching the linebackers makes a huge difference. How they're installing the plays. I think we just saw it. One, we're going to switch match personnel. It's going to be a single high look when possible. They want to stop the run. They want to prioritize the run. So from the safety standpoint, we saw it in this first game. There's going to be a lot more start in the box and be part of the solution, as opposed to you're in the back, you have alley. When you see it, you're 10, 12 yards deep, and now we're going to the outside alley and we're trying to make the play. You are part of the run fit now, standing in the box. There's a space for you there, and we're going to play a true single safety high. So the fit is different because the angle is different, and you're actually part of the count for the offensive line and the running back, the fullback, and the tight ends. Do I think the linebackers are sufficient? Yeah, but I do think there's a legitimate need to improve what I just showed on tape. When you've got two guys going under center, 12 or 21 personnel, ball shown, running or offensive line is coming at you, and you've got your middle linebacker taking steps back. Like it doesn't seem like a big deal, but you see it on film. That's a 2 or 3 yard difference in where McDuffie has contact to where Quay is standing. And I think that, for me, because that time is all I need as an offensive lineman. Like I get that free yardage on Quay, then I get, my running back gets a lot more. Every yard vertically I push somebody is 3 yards because he's going to run through and fall forward. So that's how I think about that linebacker group. They just have to continue to maximize your athleticism, maximize the physicality that you're willing to bring, but play downhill, be it, a la Fred Ward, be a lot more flat foot reading. And then when you go and it's time to go, got to go. Somebody asked who was our play caller this season. I thought it was Matt LaFleur. Like if I'm wrong, I don't know. Okay, this is interesting. Do you continue to give coaching / advice to your players while while you're in camp or during the season? Yeah, for me, this is the most important time of the year. We do a great deal of off-season development. We work on very specific things, depending on what player it is, and what we're trying to do is develop as much confidence, earn confidence as we can with these guys. And what happens in teams and seasons and you're dragging on and the coaches are game playing, like the details of, how to get your job done at the highest possible level are sometimes fall through the cracks as far as like what we're communicating to the players. And then giving you all the tools on film and in every different way that we can to develop the confidence to understand how to win your one-on-one matchup. Like that is how these guys get paid. This is how they make their living. So those are the most mission critical things that I can help develop in a player during the season, during the off season. But my claim, and I don't know, I would imagine a lot of people that are in my situation would try to say the same thing. My claim is that I can remove issues in 2 weeks or less during the season because we base everything on process and we don't look at outcome. So if a guy has, a great 72 play game with 2 bad plays at the end, we're going to look at every play the same, and we're not going to just make snap judgments on how to fix something because something that happened on the last 2 plays. Because again, 21 other players on the field, situation calls, like we just have to make sure that our guys are doing the same thing as consistently and confidently as possible. And I know from my experience as a player, and of course when I was back in the building, I don't know that that's communicated as well as it should be. I think that's where the gap is. And I just, being quite frank with you can look around the league and you can probably guess what guys are going above and beyond what they're being offered in the facility as far as improvement during the season, during the off season, and who is it? You continue. What is a private trainer's? Same thing. What is a private trainer's relationship with a player's position coaches like? Pretty non-existent. Non-existent. And listen, it's always an interesting dynamic, right? Because intuitively, you would think that everything is about maximizing the confidence of the player, right? But it's really not. This is an entertainment business. This is a business that pays a ton of money to people in the building, and nobody wants to give up any type of authority in order to uh, if getting your guys better means that I have to concede authority. I being a coach, let's say in a locker room in the National Football League, at some point that things going to creep into your head. Well, if I'm conceding authority, am I wiping myself out? Am I making myself redundant? And so there is a real there's a real fear, I think, of that. So like you guys know that I do that because I talk about it kind of on the peripheral, but like I never market. You don't know who I work with. Guys that I work with, I tell them like, this is not about me. This is only about you. We don't need to, I don't need my name in the paper and none of that stuff. We just keep it quiet. I want these guys to perform at the highest level. We don't need friction anywhere. Okay. If Green Bay doesn't go out and find a competent swing tackle, do you think it'd be wiser to move Sean Rhyan back to right guard than let Morgan take the swing tackle? You let the best 5 players play. I don't know that that's Morgan or Ryan. I haven't seen Morgan in the game. I'll be pleasantly surprised if Morgan is that much better at right guard than Sean Rhyan is, just based on what I saw last year and this year, and assuming that Ryan's progressed. But Jordan Morgan is certainly athletic enough to play any position on the line, and the thing that you don't account for when you were just putting stuff on tape is like everything that I've heard about Jordan Morgan is that he's a weight room guy. He's a guy that wants to be coached. Everything that came out of Arizona from the guys that I know personally in Arizona was super, super positive about his personality, his desire to be great, all of that stuff. Okay, so once you put him in front of a good development plan and he's trying to execute that plan, and he's around Elgton Jenkins, right? He's understanding, okay, this is how I see the game. This is how a Pro Bowl player sees the game. This is what I do to prepare. That relationship and that ability to learn from a mentor, I think, is going to hyper accelerate the development of somebody who's got curiosity and confidence. So I would never move a starter to a backup position just so he can be a swing tackle. Have you watched the rookie line from first preseason? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so Monk, I thought, is the only guy that like really kind of stood out for me, and it wasn't because of his power. It was because I thought that needed some work. But I love the play speed, the intensity, the feet. He looks like he's under control. He's got a lot of work to do with his kind of where he has his hands all the time, and he needs to get both feet in the ground with more consistency so he can deliver. He's a powerful guy, but he needs to deliver more power in real time. But you just kind of look at the way he moves and go, okay, there's definitely something there for sure. I know my eye went to him, so I'll just talk about him instead of everybody else. We should get the most playing time next to Kenny in the new scheme. It looks like Wyatt. TJ, listen, if Kenny's playing 3, Wyatt's probably not playing those. They'll have to figure that out. And I know Kenny's always been a nose, but I look at Kenny and go, man, I bet you he was dying for a year to play like a true penetrating 3 technique. So I'll be interested to see how that dynamic is. Slayton's done a good job for this team and will continue to do so in any scheme. And then the last question is, I can't believe I'm even entertaining this, but who's the kicker going into week 11? I don't know. Listen, it's the one thing that I just really don't pay any attention to whatsoever. I don't know what's this. So I would say this. I'm over here in Frankfurt. They got a kicker over here where he's the last player announced in the runouts. He gets the loudest cheers. They chant his name, and he can kick a ball. He kicked a 58-yarder last week, and he had, I don't know, it was halfway up the uprights. Like, he had as much room as you want. So if Green Bay struggled, and I was joking with this on Eversole show yesterday, and they're looking for a guy. There's a guy over here who can kick the football, man. But listen, thanks for watching. Find me at MikeWall68 on Twitter. I think they're going back to Twitter. That's what I heard. That's what I hope. I don't like X. It's kind of creepy. Some S&M stuff or something. But Process to Perform on Instagram. If you're liking the show, please subscribe for me.